Straight out of the search for Nancy Guthrie, and a huge clue today, the FBI released video of a masked person outside of Guthrie's house the night that she disappeared.
Nancy Guthrie's disappearance conceals a figure behind the mask. And for the very first time since February 1st, that figure may finally be exposed. Not from a tip, not from a confession, but through public records mainstream media never linked, traced across a Pima County courtroom, a Tucson music archive, and a criminal database that disturbingly aligns with what occurred inside Nancy Guthrie's home the night she vanished. In my previous video, I outlined the case against Tomaso Chioni, the 4-hour window, the night trial gloves, the power of attorney, and the FBI returning to his house 5 separate times. The most striking counterargument? One detail that could fracture the theory. The suspect captured on the doorbell footage is described as 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches.
The FBI today released these new photos and a video showing what they describe as an armed individual at Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home overnight, the day that she disappeared. Investigators say that the person appears to be wearing a backpack, mask, and gloves, and may have tampered with the home's doorbell camera, which was disconnected at around 1:47 a.m.
Chioni is taller. He does not fit. I left that gap open because I was still following the thread. Now, I have tracked it to the end. What it reveals is a name this investigation cannot overlook. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why. The stranger. It starts with a classified ad. April 2007, Tucson, Arizona. A drummer is searching for musicians. He finds a guitarist named Walter Ones Jr. through a Craigslist posting. Around the same time, a man named Tomaso, who had moved to the United States from Tuscany, Italy just the year before, responds to a listing in the Tucson Weekly. 3 strangers, 3 instruments, 1 band. They described it as early black, indie post-punk, shoegaze, and grunge influences. Music that fills small venues and college towns, but never fully breaks through. They recorded their debut album at Loveland Studios in Tucson and released it in 2010 to positive local reviews in the Tucson Weekly. They performed shows in Tucson, Phoenix, and Flagstaff. They built a following. They never truly broke through. And then I uncovered the album title, Life, Love, Murder. I need to be precise here. I am not saying a band name proves anything. Many bands use dark or dramatic language. On its own, it means nothing. But in the context of what happened to Nancy Guthrie, in the context of one of the men who recorded that album now under scrutiny for a possible link to a kidnapping, the title feels different than it did back in 2010. The album is not a clue, it is a clock. In 2007, when those 3 men found each other through classified ads, Tomaso Chioni had already been married to Annie Guthrie for a year, already part of the Guthrie family. That means, through rehearsals, recording sessions, and live shows across Arizona, the drummer would have known the family, not as a spy, but because that's what happens when you are close to someone for nearly 2 decades. Their lives become your landscape. By the time Nancy Guthrie disappeared in January 2026, Tomaso and his bandmate had known each other for 19 years.
Deputies are saying that this could be a kidnapping or an abduction case. It's been more than 2 days now since Nancy Guthrie was last seen, which is concerning to the sheriff's department. Deputies say she has limited mobility and doesn't have her daily medication, which could have fatal effects. Now, Sheriff Chris Nanos says deputies believe Nancy Guthrie was taken at some point between Saturday night and Sunday morning.
Here's the reality. 19 years is not a casual connection. That is a deep, long-standing relationship. The kind where you understand someone's habits, their financial position, their capabilities, their weaknesses. You know what they are capable of and what they are not. In a case where investigators believe the man on the porch did not act alone, 19 years of trust between 2 men is not background noise. It is infrastructure. The drummer would have known about the house in the Catalina foothills, the camera system, the gate, the layout, the routine. He would have known about Savannah, about the family's finances. If there is an architect behind this crime, the drummer is the one person in Tucson who already had the blueprints. And if you want to understand where this investigation is heading, stay with me and turn on notifications, because when the DNA results drop, I will break them down the moment they go public. That moment could change everything. Stay ready. Let's keep going. His name is Dominic Aaron Lee Evans. He was born on February 18th, 1978. He is 47 years old. He has lived in the southern Arizona region for most of his adult life, with addresses in the broader Tucson and Moirana area and past addresses in Eloy and other parts of Arizona. He has been part of the Tucson music scene for nearly 2 decades and has a criminal record in Pima County, Arizona. The charges: felony burglary, robbery, theft, embezzlement, DUI. This was first exposed by the investigative account JLR Investigates on X, formerly Twitter, which shared a screenshot of Arizona Pima County court records. Multiple media outlets later verified this criminal history. I need to break down these charges one by one, not as legal wording, but because they mirror what happened at Nancy Guthrie's house with a precision that is difficult to ignore. Burglary. In Arizona, burglary is defined as entering or remaining unlawfully in a structure with the intent to commit a felony or theft, not shoplifting, not fraud. It is about entering a place you have no right to, a home, a building, a residence, with criminal intent. That legal definition aligns almost perfectly with what happened at Nancy Guthrie's house on the night of February 1st. Someone entered her home unlawfully, intending to take something. Robbery. Robbery is not theft. The difference is force, a willingness to confront another human being and take something through intimidation or violence. Whoever entered Nancy Guthrie's home that night did not steal an object. They took a person, an 84-year-old woman with a pacemaker and limited mobility.
She's 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She's without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer.
That requires crossing a very specific psychological threshold. Most people cannot reach it. Someone with a robbery conviction has already crossed it. Theft and embezzlement, financial crimes, demonstrate a sustained comfort with taking what does not belong to you and deceiving those who trusted you. Then there's DUI, which might seem like the least relevant charge, but it reveals something precise about a person's relationship with consequences. Someone who drives intoxicated has decided that the fear of getting caught does not outweigh the impulse. In behavioral analysis, DUI offenders are statistically more likely to engage in other high-risk behaviors. It is not the charge itself that matters. It is what it reveals. The right build, the right background, the right criminal profile for what unfolded on February 1st. We are not done identifying him yet. The FBI description. The FBI described the suspect as a male approximately 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, with an average build, facial hair visible through the mask in the form of a mustache or goatee, and carrying a black 25L Ozark Trail hiker pack. He was also wearing what appeared to be a belly band holster for a handgun, incorrectly worn over a thick jacket. Then Jim Clemente leaned into the footage. Clemente is a former FBI supervisory special agent and criminal profiler who spent his career at the Bureau analyzing precisely this type of evidence.
Investigators are pursuing a number of other potential angles, including what the sheriff describes as the suspect's unique-looking gun holster and new details seen in the surveillance video from Nancy's front door, like this. A ring appears to be showing through the suspect's glove.
He told Fox News Digital that he noticed what appears to be a marking, possibly a tattoo, on the suspect's right wrist in the surveillance footage. He explained that if it is indeed a tattoo, it could help investigators narrow down or rule out potential suspects, and it could also assist the public. He was not speculating. He was confirming that the FBI is already cross-referencing that wrist, measuring the distance between what is visible on the doorbell camera and names in their system. Online investigators immediately compared the description to individuals in Tomaso Chion's inner circle. Dominic Evans became the primary focus. Users noted his athletic build and facial hair, consistent with a dark mustache and goatee. Others reviewed early Black's old music videos and performance footage and identified what appears to be a tattoo on Evans' wrist. I need to be clear about what visual comparison can and cannot determine. Low-resolution doorbell footage, distorted by infrared lighting and partially obscured by a ski mask, cannot be reliably matched to casual photographs taken under different conditions. I am not saying the man on the porch is Dominic Evans based on a screenshot. That is not evidence. What I can tell you is what does not exclude him. Right height, 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, consistent. Right build, average, athletic, consistent. Right facial hair, dark mustache and goatee, consistent. Potential wrist marking. The detail Clementi pulled from the footage before most people even noticed it is now being cross-referenced by professionals. And here's what the height discrepancy truly means. In my last video, the counterargument that struck hardest was the height. Tomaso is too tall to be the man on the porch. Multiple investigative journalists who analyzed photos of Tomaso standing next to others concluded he exceeds the FBI's height estimate. If that is true, the theory should collapse. It does not collapse if there are two people. It does not collapse if the man on the porch is not the one who planned the crime. The height discrepancy does not disprove the Tomaso theory. It confirms the accomplice theory. It proves the architect and the operative are two separate individuals, pointing directly at the man who has stood next to Tomaso Chioni in banned photographs for 19 years. The height discrepancy is not a flaw. It is the evidence. Geography plays a role. Morirana sits northwest of Tucson, within easy driving distance of the Catalina foothills, where Nancy Guthrie lived. Tomaso and Annie live approximately 4 miles from Nancy, forming a tight triangle in the northern Tucson suburbs. Planning a crime that requires intimate knowledge of a neighborhood, access at unusual hours, and a clean exit route makes living inside that triangle operational. The February 13th SWAT raid drew national attention, but misinformation spread online must be corrected. The individuals detained near East Orange Grove Road and North First Avenue were not Dominic Evans and his mother. According to ABC News, they were Luke Daly, age 37, and his 77-year-old mother.
So I was driving home. I noticed 2 sheriff vehicles following me. They pulled me over at the Culvers right there. Asked me to get out of the car. Didn't tell me what it was about. So they had me cuffed in the back of a cop car, detained. I was asking, like, what am I being detained for? And they wouldn't tell me anything. They just said that the detectives would be there to talk to me. And once I saw, like, FBI and all the other cars start pulling in, I'm like, oh, this is probably about the Guthrie case.
Dye's lawyer confirmed his client served time on drug-related charges, but emphasized that neither he nor his mother have any connection to Nancy Guthrie. A third individual, a DoorDash driver named Carlos Pillows, was also detained and later released. The SWAT raid was not targeting Dominic Evans. Some reports linked Evans to a property in Rio Rico, Arizona, approximately 60 miles south of Tucson, about 16 miles north of the Mexican border near Ngali, remote and sparsely populated. The Embassy of Mexico informed Fox News there is no indication that Nancy Guthrie is in Mexico, but the route follows Interstate 19 south at 2 a.m. with no traffic, taking roughly 50 minutes. If someone left Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood around 2:30 a.m. on February 1st, they could reach Rio Rico by 3:20 a.m. and be back home by 4:10 a.m. The entire round trip fits neatly within the pre-sunrise window, and every cell tower along that route would have logged the vehicle. Now, the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI have confirmed 2 distinct DNA profiles recovered in connection with this case. The first came from a glove found roughly 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home, discarded in a field by the roadside. The FBI noted that this glove visually matches the gloves worn by the suspect in the doorbell camera footage. The DNA belongs to an unknown male. It does not match Nancy. It does not match any family member, and it does not appear in CUDIS, the FBI's national criminal database. The second profile comes from biological evidence recovered inside Nancy Guthrie's home. The Sheriff's Department confirmed that these 2 profiles belong to 2 different individuals. 2 DNA profiles, 2 separate people, 2 distinct locations, one on a glove discarded along a potential escape route, and one inside the home where an 84-year-old woman was abducted from her bed.
It comes as investigators say a critical piece of evidence could help point to whoever took the 84-year-old. Investigators say DNA recovered from a glove found near Nancy Guthrie's home appears to be similar to the one worn by a masked person seen here, tampering with Guthrie's doorbell camera.
This is not speculation about an accomplice. It is biological proof that 2 separate individuals were present at this crime scene. Former FBI hostage negotiator Chip Massey explained that the presence of an accomplice drastically changes the case. The kidnapper would need assistance to control the hostage, maintain her health, and handle the logistics of keeping someone hidden. Investigators are using investigative genetic genealogy, the same method that solved the Golden State Killer case and identified Brian Koberger. Even if the suspect never submitted DNA to a commercial database, a relative might have. One DNA profile is challenging to trace, but two profiles almost guarantee that at least one leads to a name, and once that happens, identification is rapid. The coordinated silence is telling. On February 9th, News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Anton reported on the Megyn Kelly show that Tomaso Chioni had not been seen publicly for nearly a week. Anton noted that Chioni was highly recognizable due to his large beard and had not been spotted at or near the family home since the first week of February.
He hasn't been seen since I think it was Tuesday of last week. We got some photos of him outside the house here. He's very recognizable with this big beard. And he was outside with his wife, Savannah's sister, Annie, and they were in the car together.
This is the most high-profile investigation in the country. The FBI camped in his neighborhood. Cameras monitored his front door 24/7. And yet, he disappears from sight. His attorney may have advised him to stay out of public view, a reasonable explanation. But on the other side, Dominic Evans has made no public statements. No media interviews, no social media posts, no denials, no expressions of concern for Nancy Guthrie's well-being. In a world where anyone can broadcast globally in 30 seconds, his silence is deafening. Silence from one person is ambiguous, but silence from two individuals who have known each other for 19 years, both tied to the victim's family and being discussed in the context of a kidnapping, is telling. That silence suggests a conscious decision. Two people following the same instruction: do not talk, do not post, do not react. Let the storm pass and hope the DNA comes back clean. Multiple ransom-style communications were sent to media outlets during this investigation. TMZ received the initial notes on February 1st and 2nd demanding millions in Bitcoin, followed by a second, a third, and a fourth email on February 16th claiming the sender knows what occurred 5 days earlier, south of the border. Claiming knowledge of who the kidnapper is, ransom expert David Lavin analyzed the language, noting that the sender stated they would not touch an initial $50,000 payment until an arrest is made, framing themselves as gambling with their safety and freedom. Lavin interpreted this as a sign that the sender may be close to the source, wary of being implicated. In the tipster's earliest message to TMZ, they used one precise phrase: not the kidnapper, not the suspect, but the main individual. That choice of words is organizational, implying a hierarchy and an understanding that more than one person was involved, with one primary actor. You do not use that language without knowing the operation has layers. Someone on the periphery knows exactly what happened on February 1st, tracking the DNA coverage and watching the $200,000 reward, calculating if silence remains the safer option. Retired FBI agent Jason Pasico broke down the DNA timeline meticulously. Private lab finishes the profiles, they go to the sheriff, then uploaded into Kudis. If there's a match, identification happens quickly. If not, genealogy databases take over, building family trees, following partial matches, narrowing branches until a name emerges. Investigators are also working with Walmart to track purchases of the Black Ozark Trail backpack, confirmed by Sheriff Nanos as sold exclusively at Walmart, with agents coordinating with store managers to trace all purchases in the last 30 to 60 days.
New information now from the FBI into the investigation of the disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, as they're kind of pinpointing the exact backpack they are looking for, also giving a description of the individual in that FBI surveillance video.
Investigators are photographing the holster, described by Sheriff Nanos as having highly unique features, and taking those images to gun stores across Tucson, while the FBI reviews local gun purchases from the past year. They are also deploying a Bluetooth tracking device from a helicopter, searching for signals from Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker. The January 23rd footage becomes far more significant in the accomplice framework. In my last video, I highlighted the backward walker, captured on a Ring camera 9 days before the abduction, moving away from the camera in an unusual, deliberate manner. The dress rehearsal. If two people were involved on February 1st, both may have been present on January 23rd, one testing the approach, the other in a vehicle nearby, timing the neighborhood response. Here's the persistent problem. You can manufacture an alibi for February 1st, leave your phone at home, borrow a car, create a digital ghost, but January 23rd was supposed to be invisible. The suspects believe the night was safe and likely took no precautions. Phones in pockets, their own cars, cell towers logging every movement. If the FBI runs a tower dump for January 23rd and overlays it with February 1st data, revealing two phones appearing in both sets, registered to two people with a 19-year relationship, the case does not narrow, it closes. In my last video, I laid out the case for Tomaso Chioni as the architect. Here, I've detailed the case for Dominic Aaron Lee Evans as the potential operative. These are data points, not proof. Anyone claiming otherwise is selling something other than the truth. There is a real possibility Evans is completely uninvolved. His criminal record may have no link to the crime, his resemblance to the suspect could be coincidental, and his friendship with Tomaso might be just that, a friendship. The DNA will confirm or refute that. One thing is certain, the height discrepancy that seemed to undermine the Tomaso theory does not break it, it expands it. It confirms there are two people, and the man who fits the right height, background, and operational relationship, living inside the triangle, cannot be ignored. All $200,000 tests loyalty, testing the bond between two men who met through a classified ad in 2007 and played music together for nearly 20 years. Money has a way of breaking silence, especially when a DNA match could bring federal agents to the door. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Where do you stand? What did I miss? Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with anyone tracking this case. The moment DNA results go public, I'll be covering it live.